Hello, welcome to Christianity Daily with Rose Bijoux. As we always say, this is our session, our program that we discuss things that affect Christians on a daily basis. We will be discussing topics, like I said, could be eating, could be drinking, could be anything. As long as we talk about things that affect us as Christians, giving advice as to how we can cope, how we can use the advice that we will be discussing here and apply it into our lives. So you're watching Christianity Daily with Rose. Please don't go away. Stay tuned. So, we're back with Christianity Daily. Today, we're bringing you a topic that is a very sad topic, but it's something that is quite close to my heart. We're going to be talking about depression. Depression is something that affects everybody, and around me, I see it every day. And unfortunately, I have not seen it being tackled perhaps in the way I would like it to be tackled, especially in the Christian community. So God laid it on my heart to discuss this. With me on the platform, I have my sisters Gloria and my sister Chancellvie. We'll be discussing this topic that is very, very close to my heart. Not because I love it, but because it disturbs me a lot, and I believe it needs to be addressed. I am a born-again Christian. I've been serving God for as long as I can remember. I don't remember my life without serving God, because I've been in the Lord since I was very, very young. I remember being a child and being taken to church by my mom, and I actually remember enjoying Sunday school, preaching at Sunday school. So I don't remember anything else other than being a Christian, being a committed and serving in the church, being a born again, practicing Christian. But even though I am that Christian, we have Jesus. But I find myself personally in my own life that I go through things that sometimes cause me to feel depressed. So nobody should say they never feel depressed. Depression happens to everybody. But it's how you tackle it. It's how you deal with it. It's how you've got resources or means to deal with it that will help you come out at the other end stronger, more confident, and actually not too low, not too deep down in the dark pit. So things have happened to me, myself, that have caused me to be low, and I've watched things around me, people around me, whom depression has held bound, but unfortunately they're not perhaps like me, who's got Jesus to help me come out of it. And some don't come out of it. It swallows them. So today we're going to discuss this with my sisters, Chancellvie and Gloria. We're just going to explain what depression is, and hopefully we can talk about practical things to do to help us as Christians living in this world, how to come out of depression, how not to let it swallow us, how not to let it lead us. Okay, so hopefully we will help somebody. Okay, Sister Chancellvie, in your opinion, what do you think depression is?
For me, depression is the feeling of despair, sadness, loneliness, failure. It's when you feel like you're letting yourself down, you haven't achieved the goal you wanted to achieve, or you're not in a particular place, or you're not living the kind of life you planned or you thought you'd be living, and therefore you're left feeling very lonely, feeling like people are judging you, that you're failing yourself.
Okay, what about you, Sister Gloria?
For me, I feel as though depression is a state of feeling heavy, feeling burdened, feeling alone, like Sister Chancellvie said, feeling secluded, feeling locked away from the rest of the world. Like you're around people, but you still feel like you're by yourself, feeling like you can't speak out.
Yeah.
You can't be heard. You can't be understood. And feeling as though there's no solution to the problems you're going through.
All of these things are true, really. the Oxford Dictionary explains or describes depression as feeling of severe despondency. Sorry, a depression is a feeling of severe despondency and dejection. So you feel low, feelings like misery, gloominess, low spirits, sorrow, sadness, everything that we've described, unhappy, helpless, hopeless. Okay, the things are not going right with you. You feel you're alone. You feel you're shut away from the world. Some people have explained it as a heavy feeling of heaviness, like a dark gray cloud enveloping you. Some people feel like such sadness that it leads you to shut down. You know, like a computer no more has power, that it shuts down. So that's how people have explained depression. If you say you've never felt depression, I don't think you're human. We all feel depression. And in this session, we will talk about people in the Bible who've gone through depression. So this is real. It happens to everybody. But I don't want to praise depression. My motto for being on this platform is to tackle it. What can we do as Christians to tackle depression? So many young people and even adults are committing suicide. People are committing self-harm. People live in self-harm because they're depressed. I feel like I want to reach out, but I don't know how to. So we want to talk to people. Maybe if you're feeling like that, you're feeling alone, I just want to encourage you that you are not alone. Most people go through this, but it's what they use, the mechanisms they use to help them, that maybe helps them not to go too deep, not to self-harm, not to commit suicide. So there are different kinds of depression, but as a Christian, I'm sorry, I'm not against pastors, I'm not against churches, but I don't think in the Christian community depression is tackled correctly. In the world, there are medical ways of dealing with depression. There's counseling in hospitals. There is medication that people are put on, antidepressants, to help people handle it or cope. There are rehabs that people go to, therapies, but I don't kind of see what the church does to help with depression. I don't see it. I am a Christian. I've been through depression and I found myself alone at few times. Praying my way out of it has been my only solution. Now, praying your way out of it, you need to be a strong Christian to actually know that you can use the Word of God, read it to help you. Pray. If you don't know how to pray, what about if you don't know how to pray? What about if you don't know how to read the Bible? What will encourage you to come out of it? How do you come out of it? How do we as Christians deal with depression? Helping people come out of this black hole. What would you give as an advice to a young person that you yourself, Sister Gloria, know who's going through depression? For example, I remember doing my GCSEs and I had to study all the time, and sometimes the subject I did not understand, they made me feel depressed if I did not get it. And then when I didn't get the grades I wanted, I felt really, really low. How would you encourage a young person who's feeling that they're not making it at school, they're not really doing well, their peers don't like them, they can't fit in? How would you advise them as a Christian to behave or to deal with such feelings?
Yeah, thank you very much. For young people, I feel as though with depression in young people, there's this voice that tells young people that they're not good enough. There's this voice of saying, you know, you're worthless, you'll amount to nothing, everything you're doing, it's in vain, that you'll never amount to anything, you'll never achieve anything in life. And this voice sort of dwells in their heads, and it overpowers them, and it makes them feel as though they can never go forward in life. But as children of God, I just want to remind young people, do not listen to that voice that's telling you, if you do a test and you fail, if you can't understand a subject at school, if you're failing a particular exam, that does not mean you're dumb. It does not mean that if you're at home and maybe you live in a separated home, maybe mum and dad are separated, it does not mean that you're unloved. So certain circumstances in our lives might come together and make us feel as though we are a specific type of person. But remember that you are loved, you are worthy, you can go forward. Just because you can't understand one topic, it doesn't mean you never understand anything in life ever. There are always other things to try out. There are always other things to do. So remember, you are important, you are loved, you can go forward, you are worthy.
What would you say, in your opinion, are the causes of depression around us? What causes people to feel depressed?
Thank you for that, Sister Rose. I was actually thinking a lot of depression sometimes comes from ourselves. The pressure we put on ourselves. Like you think, oh, I need to get here now. This is what I need to do. Speaking from experience, I'm a young adult. There's things I want right now that I don't have. But I feel like sometimes you just have to give yourself some time to get there. Just because you're not there yet doesn't mean you will never be there. So rushing it will only put pressure on yourself without people actually putting pressure on you, and therefore you get depressed. But if you just allow yourself some time, you believe in God, you know that, okay, my time will come, I will have this in a certain time, you realize that you stop putting pressure on yourself, therefore you won't feel depressed. So you need to just give time to whenever time is needed, and not to rush anything, and not to feel like everything is happening because it's you, it's your fault. Never to blame you. You're not always in control of everything.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for that. So there are many causes of depression, like Sister Chancevi has outlined. Ourselves, we can be a cause of depression, and there's other external factors that can cause depression, like Sister Gloria talked about, people separating, parents separating, households where there is a single parent, where only the mother is available, where only the father is available. The children don't feel that there's a figure, a father figure that can support them. They go to school, maybe they see other people who've got father figures in their lives. So they feel like something is missing in their lives. So separation, breakup in families can be a cause, a contributing factor to depression. Lack of self-motivation for ourselves can also be a contributing factor. Your peers can be, we see things at school, especially for young people, bullying can be a cause of depression. Your kids go to school, you don't know what they're going through. Do you actually sit down with your children and ask them, how was school? How did you do? How were the teachers? Do you go to school actually, and do you go to your children's school and talk to the teachers and ask them how your child is progressing? So things happen in the streets, at school, that can also cause kids or people, even at work as adults, things can happen to cause us to be depressed, like bullying, which is one of the factors. Now, there's seasonal depression, there's prenatal depression, there's postnatal depression, there's continuous and mild depression. This continuous and mild depression is a chronic depression. You feel low today, you feel low tomorrow. After a week, it's something you do constantly, continuously. You shut yourself in your room. You want to talk to anybody on the phone, especially people who've claimed asylum in a Western culture. Asylum has become, it's supposed to be claiming asylum to seek for help. But when things are not going well, you feel stuck. From day to day, things are not progressing well. You start to lock yourself in a room. You feel hopeless and helpless. It can breed depression. Prenatal depression is before you give birth. People are pregnant. There's hormones happening, things happening because of hormone. You start to experience a change in your body. Your body isn't the way it used to. Maybe you change your skin pigmentation. You start to feel ugly. You start to feel that you don't look as good as you used to be. Unfortunately, not everybody's got a strong self-esteem. Some people feel low because of that. Postnatal depression, people give birth and suddenly, depending on how you got pregnant, do you have a supporting partner? Are you married when you got pregnant? If you're alone, suddenly you find yourself with this child. You can't cope. People just think you look unkempt. They just think she doesn't know how to brush her hair. Since she gave birth, she's put on weight. Since she gave birth, she doesn't go out anymore. You're judging instead of finding out what actually this person is struggling with. So postnatal depression can happen where you can't cope with waking up very early, sleepless nights with a baby because you can't really cope. These are things that lead people to have depression. Seasonal depression are things like maybe during birthdays, you don't have friends, nobody to give you a present. I'm sorry, but for some people it can feel that you're depressed. Maybe you're used to having presents, but this one person doesn't have parents, they're an orphan. Nobody offers them a present. Nobody rings them to say happy birthday on their birthday. So seasonal, when it's birthday time, they don't want to face that day. So they become depressed. Or maybe it's an anniversary of the death of one of your parents. When that time arrives, you feel so low. Now, if you haven't got anything to help you snap out of it, you can quickly sink low and not be able to come out of it. Isaiah 43, verses 1 to 5. I'm just quickly going to read that because God is telling us that we shouldn't fear. He's with us no matter what. He is with us. Isaiah 43, verses 1 to 5. I am going to read. Verse 2, I'll focus on verse 2 first, 2 to 3. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. For I am the Lord, thy God, the Holy One of Israel, thy Savior. I gave Egypt for thy ransom, Ethiopia and Seba for thee. So God is saying, no matter what you're going through, you need to remember he is with you. You will not drown. You will not be consumed by the fire. Basically, I am God and I know what you're going through. I am God and I know that you need money right now to send to Africa. You don't have a job. Look for that job. Pray to me. I will provide. I am God. I will not allow this gloom you're feeling, this dark pit that you're facing to swallow you up. I am God. This cloud that you feel of sadness over you, I will not let it linger forever. You just trust in me. I gave up Egypt for a ransom for you. I can give up things. I can sacrifice things for you. I can remove mountains for you. I can move waters for you. I can make a way in the waters for you to pass where people have drowned. I can allow you not to drown. So as Christians, the spiritual way of coping with depression is that we need to seek God's face. He is promising us he is there. The amount of times I have been in situations that I thought I was going to drown forever, that even my mom couldn't take me out of it, even my pastor couldn't pray me out of it. The amount of times, and I have prayed, and the next day I come out of it like nothing happened. But had anybody gone into my head, or maybe came into my house and spoken to me when I was going through that thing, they wouldn't believe that I'm the same person who's smiling, that I'm the same person who's standing. But it's because God is promising he will take you out of it. So when you read this word, you need to believe that he is able to do it. Don't listen to the voices in your head saying you're going to kill yourself, you can't make it, just finish your life. What do you think about suicide, Sister Chancel-V?
I absolutely disagree with suicide. I don't believe it's actually, as a Christian, I condemn it.
Amen.
Because I do believe there's always a solution.
Amen.
You have to seek it. Speak to someone.
Yes.
Whenever I'm feeling low, I call my mom. I call a friend. I speak to someone. Because I believe just speaking, saying it out loud, you realize sometimes what you think might be so big in your head, it might not be as big.
Some people have gone through it.
Yeah, and they'll advise you. So
Yes.
you realize, okay, hold on, why am I getting depressed over
Exactly.
this? It's actually not a big deal. So I would advise anyone to always speak it out. Call someone, find someone, at least one person you trust. Tell them what you're going through. They'll give you advice. It might not be what you will expect, but it's still advice that you can use. And it's also good for you to just get out of that mindset that you were going through and to speak it out. And you afterwards you feel more relaxed, more at ease, and you realize it wasn't as massive as you thought in your head it was.
I agree.
So yeah.
Some people, I've met people who've said to me, actually a few, Rose, every time I call you on the phone, you always sound happy. Every time I see you, always look well dressed. You always look good. It doesn't mean I don't go through stuff. I do. Maybe if I explained my life to you and gave you, it would be so much of a burden. You'll say, oh, Rose, please, take it back, take it back. But it's not me that carries the burden. Jesus says, come to me, all ye that labor, all ye that are heavy laden, all ye that are carrying weight. Come to me and I will give you rest. Those who are weary, those who are depressed, those who feel low, those who think they cannot make it, I will give you rest.
Yes.
God can give you rest by putting somebody in your way to give you a job because you are depressed because you don't have a job. God can remove the weight by putting somebody next to you who will make you happy because you have no one to talk to. Yes, you've lost your parents, but in the church we've got this community, we've got people. God can give you a friend, a mother in the church that can be cooking food for you out of the blue, be bringing you food. So God can remove the weight in many ways. There are people in the world who've experienced depression. Okay, you're not alone. You know, David, the man after God's heart, he actually struggled with a lot of anguish. He struggled with a lot of despair. He struggled with sinful behaviors. And every time, if you read the book of Psalms, David is always crying out to God. He's always travailing. He's always, calling unto God to help him out because he can't cope. There's always a feeling of sadness. And I remember a part in the Bible, I think it's in the book of 2 Samuel 12, around verses 15 to 23, when he lost his son. He grieved with sackcloth. He grieved so much. He was in despair. He was cold. He was crying. He was lonely. But when the child died, for some reason, he found the strength to dress up again, to get well. That means after depression, there is hope. You just need to tap at the right source to get that help. Like Sister Chancevi said, talk to somebody. Don't keep it in. Young people, don't bottle things in. There are people who've gone through what you're going through and they are surviving and they are doing well. David had suicidal thoughts. I can see in Psalms 38 verse 4, he's saying, Father, he's saying, my guilt has overwhelmed me. It's become a burden to me. We see Elijah. Elijah was running away from Jezebel. He was being chased from Jezebel. He became so low and so weary and so subdued and discouraged. He said to God, I have had enough. This is a prophet. This is a big prophet in the Bible. He became depressed. He told God, Lord, I have had enough. Take my life. This is in 1 Kings 19 verse 4. He said, take my life. So if Elijah got to a point, the person who spoke to God, the person who knew the one was above everything, who knew solutions, could say, God, I have had enough. Who are we not to experience depression? But it's how we deal with it. Okay, we know Jonah. He was so depressed. He kept running away from wanting to serve God. He ended up in the belly of the whale. Was it not suicidal? Come on, man. That was him committing suicide, going into the sea to drown. He got swallowed up. Was that not suicidal? We see people we see Paul constantly talking about being depressed, and the one that tops it all, Job. We all know about Job's depression. Come on, anybody that knows the story of Job, you know that man was beyond depressed.
Yes.
But he still says, my Redeemer lives.
Yes.
He says, my Redeemer lives. These are spiritual things that we can do. We can talk about to encourage ourselves. Big man in the Bible went through depression. Talk about Jeremiah. He was so depressed. He's called the weeping prophet. If you look at, he wrote the book of Lamentations, by the way. The Lamentations of Jeremiah. Look at me. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. He's the mourning and the crying prophet. He moaned, he cried all the time. He went through depression, but in the end of the tunnel, there was light. There's God. We are Christians. We base our faith on God, on the one who's able to remove mountains for us. Let's go to him. So, back on practical things we can do. If you feel depressed, Sister Chancevi said, talk to somebody. First thing, talk to somebody you can trust. I am not against medical help, please. I am not a Christian that believes that doctors aren't to be trusted. God created doctors. God gave them the knowledge to study and have all this medication that help us. We're not saying be hooked on this medication because you can get dependent on antidepressants. But seek help from doctors. There's counselors around. There are therapists that can help you. If you feel stuck, speak to your pastor so they can help you on the spiritual realm by praying. Talk to somebody you can trust, but also seek medical advice. Don't be a radical Christian that just goes to church. Everything is about prayer. You go to church, they pray for you. They perform all this deliverance to you. But when you get home, you're alone. When you get home, it's when you face the troubles again. So seeking counseling, seeking help. The prayer is helping you spiritually, but the counseling and the therapy is also helping you physically. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's okay to seek medical help. Gloria, anything you want to give us on practical things to do before we sign off? We've got about 3 minutes or so before we can finish.
The practical thing for me would be to encourage people to, like we said, to speak out. And not only to speak out, but to trust others as well. Because sometimes people would get into a state where they don't want to speak to anyone because they think people are going to go and tell their stories to other people. Don't worry. Confide in people. Trust people. Know that when you tell someone about your worries and your problems, go to someone who you can trust.
Of course, not everybody, yeah.
Not just anybody. Someone who you can trust in the first place, and trust that they will not go and tell your story to other people, but just pour out your heart and know that someone is out there and they can understand you. Don't feel misunderstood. Someone can understand what you're going through. Other people have been through what you're going through.
Yeah. Nothing is new under the sun.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody has been through it.
Definitely.
So talk to a friend, talk to someone, pray. You need to learn how to pray as a Christian. Pray your way out of it. That always works for me. I pray my way out of it. The next morning I'm smiling. You would never know what happened to me yesterday. But it's because that's a mechanism for me. I love to pray. I love to read the Bible. But you can find something else that works for you. Get professional medical help. It's very, very important. Try not to be alone so much. If you're somebody that you get easily enclosed, you get easily sad, please be around people.
Yes.
Find people, go out.
Positive people.
Be positive people. Call Sister Gloria, let's go eat at Nando's. You know, call Sister Shansevi, let's go shopping. Even if you don't have money, go window shopping. Find friends that will help you. Be around people that are positive. Think positively. Listen to gospel music that is comforting. I love to listen. Maybe you want to listen to music by Sister Jenna, if you wish. You can listen to music by someone that you like. You can listen to a song by Moise Mbi if you want. Or you can listen to a song by Papankosi. Any song. Find a gospel singer that you like. That speaks to your heart. Listen to those gospel songs and see if it will help. You can listen to Sister Ali's song, for example, or Sister Lombongo, or what were the American singers?
Tasha Cobbs.
Is it Tasha Cobbs? Yeah. Listen to them. They've got music that can be useful, that can bring life to the soul. Get out more. Please don't enclose yourself inside. Go to a park if you need to. When I was younger, I used to love going to parks. When I was like 13, 12, I used to love studying for my exams at the park. I loved going to parks. But that was back in Africa. We had really beautiful parks where I used to live as a young person. I didn't like being in the house. I would just go out. I like watching birds. I like watching grass, trees, flowers. I was that weird as a young person. I loved going to parks, just to read a book. Do something that is fun for you. Okay, you need to remember that God is there. Before we sign up, I just want to encourage somebody. Learn about people in the Bible that went through things and then find out what happened to them in the end. I know it's quite challenging, but you need to challenge negative thinking. Anytime a negative thought comes to mind, think of something positive to just delete that negative thought. You need to work on it. It's something you need to practice. All right. Remember, depression is real. It can happen to anybody. You are not alone, but there's always solution. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. I hope somebody has been encouraged. We will come again. We'll have a platform where we can talk about this in more depth. Perhaps invite more professionals or psychologists who deal with depression. But as Christians, we really need to talk about depression more. It's not just enough to pray for somebody and say you are healed from depression, and then a week later we hear they committed suicide. I'm not saying the prayer didn't work, but I'm saying maybe the practical advice for them to use when they got home wasn't available. So we need to make it available to people. I hope I've been helpful to somebody. I really, really hope I have been. I hope you've been watching and you've been blessed. So, Christianity Daily, you've been watching this. Follow us on Twitter. Follow me as Rose Bijoux Ramires on Twitter. I've got an account on YouTube. Please don't forget to watch my videos and share them. And continue to pray for me that this will be something useful for the community as a whole. Until next time, be encouraged, be uplifted, and be blessed. Bye.
Bye.